Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another conversation on the Chiromo Hospital Group live mental health conversations as we continue with our global initiative Tufunguke. Today, I am really excited to host these amazing panels because it consists of friends, practitioners, people I've known for a long time, and I really can't wait just to see what they bring to the table, as well as other new panelists as well. So I'll start with Tekla. I'll just follow my grid, or rather I'll try to. We have Mercy Tekla. You can wave at us. Hi, Mercy. Mercy Tekla is a mental health and wellness advocate, a clinical psychologist at Chuka County Referral Hospital.
Yeah.
We are happy to have you here. Thank you for honoring the invite. And
Thank you,
yes. Next, we have Claire Nasasira. Claire Nasasira is all the way from Uganda. Health matters. Wow, apologies for that. Sorry, that was on my end. Can you hear me, all of you? Right, my apologies. So next we have Claire. I've talked about Claire. She's from Uganda. Claire is a mental health show host at the Black Mental Health Matters, and she is also a journalist by profession. We are in Black Mental Health Matters with Claire. And then we have Zawedi Samson. Zawedi Samson is a Bachelor of Sociology diploma holder in mental health, as well as human rights and recovery training that he has done with Quality Rights. Welcome, Zawedi, to this platform. We also have Austin, who will be joining us. I think he dropped off. And then we have Mudhoni Stevens. Mudhoni, I don't know whether I should ask you to introduce yourself. You know, your bio is very rich. I'm excited to have you here. But Mudhoni started on a path of mentorship to adolescents on life skills and homework support on literacy and numeracy in the informal settlements of Viwandani in Nairobi, Kenya. She is also currently a project officer at Utena Youth Organization, where she works with adolescents as a mentor for the last 6 years. As we continue with this conversation, I think if I left anything out in regards to what you do, we'll have another chance at the end where you can tell us more, as well as how to reach you. So today's conversation is about eating disorders. We started this conversation on the Twitter, and that went very well on our Mindful Mondays. Thank you to these panelists and others. And today we have the live conversation, which has been streamed on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube as well. So let's dive right into it. And if you don't know, this is also the National Eating Disorders Week. All right. So I'm gonna start. What is the reality of eating disorders in your country? Let me start with Claire. Claire, what is the reality of eating disorders in Uganda?
Okay, thank you so much, Gadoni, for the wonderful introduction and for starting up with me, by the way. I'm happy to represent East Africa. I'm representing TZ, Uganda, DRC, I guess, South Sudan, some there rep. When you talk about the reality of eating disorders in Uganda right here, I would say it's not something that's so known to people. Um, like recently, I was talking to some friends of mine, and about this same topic. Actually, when you brought it up last time, I was like, let me just discuss with friends. And these people do not actually know they have eating disorders. They don't. They think they are. It's normal to just bash away food, to just say, I don't feel like eating. I'll just maybe take a small piece of this. It's going to be enough for the day since I need this waistline. Maybe my boyfriend or husband wants to see me this way. It's some kind of strange. People are living that kind of life. They have no idea that's those are eating disorders, which might be having issues on their mental being, maybe in the long run or maybe in the short run. They have no idea. And as for the male creatures, the males, they tend to consume a lot of food at the same time. They also have no idea that that is actually also a problem. They think it is something normal. I mean, I'm a man, I'm supposed to be eating this much. They think that is normal. Someone's going to eat breakfast at 9, actually at 7. As soon as they get out of bed, they'll eat breakfast. Then at 9, they're eating more food. Then at 11, more food. Then at 1, more food. At 3, more food. I mean, almost every hour, someone is taking a plate of food almost every hour. That's ridiculous. And people do not understand these things. They have no idea they are affecting them in the long run or in the short run. They eat as long as there is food on their tables. So I can say the reality of eating disorders here is it's unrealistic. It's not realistic as it should be. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Claire, for that. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think we look at eating disorders more of a lifestyle or a choice kind of things, not recognizing that it is indeed an illness, and an illness that is quite debilitating. And I hope that as we continue this conversation, we will delve into that. Marcy Tekla, what are your thoughts in regards to eating disorders?
Thank you, Gaboni, for inviting me. I would agree with Claire. Most of what she has said is also similar in our country where I'm working. Eating disorders have been thought to be illnesses of an Western illness rather, whereby it's only the white people who suffer from such an illness and not Africans. In Africa, we adore, or mostly, most of the communities like maybe the bigger women, maybe a little bit of fat here and there, thickness, that is appreciated in Africa as compared to other parts of the world. So we have not fully embraced that this is something that is creeping in onto us, and some of our people also are going through eating disorders. Also, from experience, I've seen that this is an illness that people are considering that it's more in the cities or more in the urban areas as considered to even the rural areas now, whereby in these communities at the ground level, people do not think that this thing is happening, but they consider it as a disease of the rich, and not for us who are maybe even suffering to get a meal on the table every other day. Also, there is an association to it for it being only a girl's illness, that our boys or the men cannot suffer from an eating disorder, but at the same time, you find a male athlete, a male model who is also going through the same. So I feel like in an African community or in the Kenyan community, we have not fully embraced that eating disorders is part and parcel of us, and now even hindering awareness creation. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tekla, for that. And thank you for really extensively bringing in culture, because I think our view of things as Africans, as Kenyans, and we have a Ugandan here, really does influence in regards to how we see things or how we explain our perception, and some of those things eventually end up hindering proper access to treatment, or even treatment in itself altogether. So if you're joining this conversation in any of our platforms, we are talking about eating disorders, and I'm excited to have this panel today. If you have a question, please drop it in any of those platforms. We'll be able to read it out to our panelists as we continue with this conversation. Eating disorders are illnesses, mental illness that are characterized by a preoccupation in our weight, in our image, and body shape in an unhealthy way. All right. Thank you, Zawedi, for coming back. Do you have thoughts on that? Like, what is your reality where eating disorders are concerned from your area? What's the reality there?
Okay, in the reality, okay, once again, thank you, Gadoni and Claire, for bringing the East African together. So, in my from western part of Kenya, in our area, reality is that when a kid, I think it's more influenced by parents, the environment. I think some like maybe in my situation in my community, people are trying to be forced to eat my children so that they can grow to be okay. This perception like, okay, you don't want to eat, not grow so big, you have to be eat. So they force you to take a lot of food. So by the time they realize it's too late, like it's uncontrollable. So the kid, maybe those people have been addicted to eating. So by the time they realize the kid has grown too big, the body has changed. I don't want to shame anyone, but I'm trying to bring something that is more realistic in this situation. Like when you are a kid, you are being forced to eat so that you can grow big, to be like someone. So they take example of your dad, your aunt, your firstborn brother. So by not realizing that, when you come to an end of realization, the kid is the situation is out of hand. You cannot control it. So they realize that. So to me, that is the reality in my community, where the kids are being forced to eat. It's more affecting the kids more than the people between age 18 to 20 something. Are you hearing?
Yes, Zawedi, thank you for that. I hear you loud and clear, and thanks for bringing in also the angle of, some of the decisions that are made around children growing up and how that can influence them developing, some of these illnesses, and also just pointing out that, and I'm glad because we will be going into the myths and misconceptions around this. Zawedi has, very well also pointed out that these eating disorders could also affect children, not just adults as well. Tekla had also brought in the fact that the society thinks that this is more of a women problem than a men problem, but the reality is that we get to have or to see both men and women. Probably the prevalence and the percentages are different, but the baseline, the bottom line is that men and women do suffer from eating disorders. Mudhoni, I do not want to lock you out of that question, so let me just hear your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gadoni. As the lady has said, in an environment whereby the children or the adolescents are being forced to eat, as time goes by and now they experience the body shaming and maybe they're being bullied, that is now where the moment of mental issues start. And now it becomes a very difficult situation, and maybe they isolate themselves just because of something maybe they did not want to, but since they have eaten and their body has changed, and now they have gained weight, and now they have issues, maybe even playing and interacting with other people and being isolated, being bullied, it makes them feel uncomfortable, and they end up
Right. I think we have lost Mudhoni. Just slow. Mudhoni, we lost you for a little bit. Well, as we wait for Mudhoni to come back and continue hearing her thoughts. What are some of the myths and misconceptions that are surrounding mental disorders? Just to add on to what Zewedi and Tekla had talked about. Claire, what are the myths and misconceptions in Uganda, surrounding eating disorders?
Talk about the myths and misconceptions surrounding eating disorders. First of all, people assume that by eating little food, they are going to reduce their weight, become slim, and to maybe become the other person's favorite person. They say so, but sometimes some of us, our bodies were created in a certain way that even if you eat a lot of food, you will still remain the same size. Even if you eat little food, you still remain the same size. So eating sometimes does not do to you what you expect it to do in the long run or in the short run. So it just leaves you the way you are. So you eat much food, you do not grow fat. You eat less food, you grow fat. So it's a little bit of a controversy that people have not yet understood as of yet, because they assume that their bodies shape and sizes depend on food, which might not be the exact thing. Because it depends on the type of food that you eat also, it matters. First, if you eat maybe like fatty food, let me look at the pizza, such foods that if you eat a lot of milk stuff, maybe your body can become so huge, you can grow so huge. But also if you eat food that does not contain those lots of carbohydrates and proteins, you might not get the kind of size that you expect to get. Or sometimes if you want to grow slim and then you do not eat maybe, let me say, vegetables and such kind of foods, you might not get what you want. So sometimes people tend to sideline with food, thinking that food provides them with a kind of body size and body shape that they're longing for, which is not the reality. Yeah.
At least not in the 100 percentile, probably just a small contribution. And it's true, as I was listening to Claire talking, it's just reminded me of the way sometimes somebody would starve themselves but then still get so frustrated because they did not lose the weight that they intended to lose. So I mean, usually if you don't, because your body requires food to be able to function, and even for your brain to be able to send and receive messages correctly. So if you don't eat, what actually happens is that the body converts what is already there into fat first. So you would actually add weight, or if you're not eating but drinking water, you would still be able to have even that water weight as well. However, it's just one of the factors that really, or characteristics that can influence eating or not eating. Thank you, Claire, for that as well. Zawedi, what are your thoughts in regards to myths and misconceptions surrounding eating disorders?
Okay, thank you. Okay, adding a point on Claire's statements. So you say so can we conclude that body shape and size is influenced by innate characteristics that not food? Or back to Gathoni or Claire?
The question is if body shape and size is influenced by food
or innate characteristic, like characteristic within someone, biological
right.
clocks and makeups.
Right. Thank you, our panelist, for posing that question to us. I mean, absolutely. Food really does, it's a contributor, but not a sole contributor, because there are things like genetics that also influence how we are going to look at you come from a I'm so sorry. My phone keeps going off. So
if I should respond,
okay, go ahead. Please go ahead, Claire.
Okay, sorry, my network had been a little bit distorted, but if I should answer you, Samson, body size and shape, these things they're basically genetic. Sometimes they are from our genetics, they're from our families, that part our parents, our sisters, or maybe aunties or something like that. They are the major people that influence our body sizes and shapes. But you see, in this era of I will call it a .com era, where maybe we are trying so much to copy the white world. Maybe probably I want to look like Beyonce, and I think Beyonce does not eat food. I want to look like Rihanna, and I assume that Rihanna does not eat food, so that's why she's like that. And then I'm going to go on a diet. I'm going to stop eating lunch. Maybe when someone tells me actually they don't eat dinner, they don't take breakfast. Sometimes they just take lunch, and that's all they can have for a day, because for them they feel like that is the way to keep themselves in shape. And I know someone who actually eats 3 full meals a day, and she's very much in shape. So sometimes people do not understand these things. They think that their problem is actually food, when their problem is actually from way back to people they do not even know, to some grandparents that passed on some 100 years ago. So it's probably I cannot just say that body size and shape are determined by the food that we eat. They are more genetical than the food that we actually consume.
Right.
Good response. Okay, so we are tackling about myths, yeah. Okay, my myth, like, people normally say that people from the urban area are more affected by this eating disorder more than people from the rural areas, because they are eating healthy lifestyles, like traditional, maybe let's say vegetables, ugali. This more of, you know, when you are coming from the rural areas, people try to say that, okay, as we don't like to eat fats, we are just consuming our traditional vegetable. Do you think like people from the urban area are more affected than with eating disorder compared to the people in the rural areas? And maybe most people mistake eating disorder with growing fat, huge, and not so thin. Or Claire?
Right. Hello. Can
Hey,
you
love.
hear me?
Yeah, you can hear you.
Okay, Sawa. Thank you, Zawedi, for that. I'll just leave that question on the side for Claire to answer, so we can be able to progress. But yeah, absolutely, it's not just food only that is going to determine, but also a genetical predisposition also really does influence a lot. So you could not eat, but your family lineage is of people who are more endowed body wise. So that is still going to happen regardless of the amount of food that you're eating. And I think also as part of the misconceptions is it's not just becoming fat or very healthy, to be politically correct, that will determine if you have an eating disorder. It's actually way more than that. And it's good that we have a psychologist on this panel. Maybe she can also get to tell us what are some of the things to look out for before we get to treatment. Mudhoni, from where you're from, any myths that you have had?
Yeah, so sometimes, like you have said, in connection to the genetics, maybe it's a family thing, and somebody may see you, and then depending on your body size, they say maybe you eat too much, and actually maybe you don't eat too much. And another one is like sometimes it can be the peer pressure of the people around you. Maybe they are the circles of friends that you hang out with, they are foodie people, so they will always influence you to be eating, of which in that process, uh, others they may gain weight, and others they may not be able to gain weight. So that is what I can say. Mostly it's the genetic, like the other panels have identify.
Upset.
I think most of the people sometimes who struggle with weight, it can be genetic. The percentage of people, maybe because of just eating, it might be lower, but I think the highest percentage is maybe the family, genetics, family like that, or even the lifestyle of the people. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. Tekla, what myths have you had in Tharaka Nithi County?
Another myth that is quite common is that we consider it an attention-seeking behavior, whereby someone is trying to seek for help, or it's a cry for help when maybe I'm declining food, or when I'm taking food and maybe inducing, maybe vomiting or trying to shed it off. So this will make people not heed to or help me seek treatment that is really there, that is really put out there by professionals, but think maybe it's just an adolescent who is acting out, or it's an issue of discipline and an issue of just conduct issues in general. Maybe another misconception that is quite common, that it's a lifestyle or it's a matter of choice or it's a phase that is going to go away. That I can outgrow it, like nikitutu so it's a phase in my time that maybe after 2-3 years or 2 months I'll get something else that is on fashion and then leave it out and try something else. Also, this might hinder people from seeking treatment or seeking professional help and helping it. And also now, when you talk about maybe people claiming that it's an attention-seeking behavior, that's where we neglect the psychological or the thoughts bit of it, whereby we say most of these things that we suffer from begin from the mind. And it's generally, an eating disorder is maybe an aftermath of the image that I've created for myself that is presenting itself in, not the behavior of how I interact with food. So by saying that it's an attention-seeking behavior, we neglect the place of the self-image that I've created for myself, or the image that has been created by the society that I'm living in, that should be the ideal. Yeah.
Right, amazing points there, and just to reiterate what these panelists have said, in case you're joining this conversation halfway, we are looking at the myths and misconceptions, and we've heard things like being slim. I've heard that people say that the people who are slim don't have an issue, because apparently that's like the societal expectation to be more linear, or slender in some places, maybe not in all African countries. So that's a myth as well. Another myth that has been very well said is that it's a lifestyle choice. Like you just wake up and decide to eat a lot or not to eat a lot, or to force yourself to purge. It's not just a choice. It's also not a behavior that you can simply, stash away in a cupboard. It's an actual illness. And something else that has also been said that, it's attention-seeking behavior. So this individual is, having attention-seeking behavior because they want to get something out of it. Something else that has also been said is in regards to self-image as well. So eating disorders are way more than all of those things. And before we get actually into the other part of the discussion, let me just hear from the panelists. What are some of the signs and symptoms? In case somebody is watching this live right now and they are wondering, could I be experiencing an eating disorder, either myself or my child or my colleague? Maybe we could mention just a few. And then below this video, we are going to put out different links. And before we go to the signs and symptoms, maybe we can also mention what are the most common eating disorders at the top of our heads that we know. Let me start with Tekla because she's the psychologist. Some of the eating disorders that are common.
Maybe I'll speak about maybe around Kenya or in the African communities. One of the most common eating disorders is anorexia nervosa. Uh, and then there is also bulimia nervosa also. And then there is PICA, PICA. For
Yeah.
and also there is also binge eating disorder. So maybe if I'll start with binge eating, this is whereby there are recurrent episodes of eating large amounts of food. And these are amounts of food that are maybe way more than other people are taking at the same scenario. And then eating even beyond your fullness, like you're already full, but you also have the urge to keep on eating. And also feeling like you're losing control, like you have no control over taking as much food as you're taking. Eating rapidly, and also can also come with a bit of eating in secret. You do not want to eat when people are seeing you. And after all these, maybe the eating spree or the binge eating episode, it comes with feelings of guilt, comes with feelings of even feeling disgusted and embarrassed of yourself. And also, this might lead to even depressed feelings after that. There is also bulimia nervosa, as I had mentioned before. This is also similar, kidogo, to binge eating. Maybe the major difference is that after an episode of binge eating, you find that you are inducing or you have ways that is to control maybe the amount of weight that you're going to gain. This is whereby you'll find people taking laxatives so that they can maybe get rid of the food from their bodies. Some people are going to induce vomiting. Other people are going to exercise more than normal or more than it's maybe ethically allowed to, so as to control the food that they've already taken. Yes, you're having the urge to take the food, but also there is another urge or another compulsion that you need to maybe get rid of it so that you do not put up an unwanted weight. And then anorexia nervosa is whereby there is a negative association to food, whereby you feel like at any point that you're taking food, it's that you're adding more weight to yourself. And then at this point, you have an ideal self-image that is not necessarily healthy. For instance, if you check maybe with nutritionists, everybody has an ideal weight that they should have. Maybe for me, maybe my ideal weight should be 65. Maybe if I was suffering from anorexia nervosa, I would be feeling like even though I have not gotten to that weight, or even that weight, if I look at it from the mirror, I feel like it's too much. And it's unhealthy. But even with knowing that it's unhealthy, when I look at myself, I still feel the urge to control the food I'm taking. So either I'll avoid some certain foods that I feel that are adding weight, or avoid food all at once. Yeah.
Thank you,
Maybe
Tekla.
the rest of the panelists can add.
Yes, yes. Let me just allow the panelists just to mention who would like. Let me not pick. Anybody who would like to add to those three eating disorders, which are anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating?
She also mentioned about PICA.
Yes.
And PICA, mostly it's a disorder whereby you indulge in non-food stuff like soil or papers or chalk, you see, stuffs which are not considered to be food.
Yeah. Thank you, Budoni, for that. And every time we have conversations around PICA, it really throws me off, because I grew up in a society that, eating stones for pregnant women. What else? Sand, soil. I remember a lot of people eating papers when we were in high school, and sellotape, and glue, and chewing pens, and all those kind of things. And it was normal. I would say, until studying psychology, just realizing, oh my God, so it's actually a disorder. So it's usually a very thin line for me, because I just feel like some things are culturally kind of, put out there and accepted and passed down somehow. I don't know, Claire, what's your experience?
I also liked eating pen covers. They were my best. I liked chewing them all the time.
Yes.
Most of my pens lacked covers because I showed them and I thought it was okay. I liked eating them. I liked eating paper. I would just be there and I'm bored. I just get a paper from my book. I chew, but you know this topic brought up all those things. I just remembered that something was actually not right with me, and I did it over and over again. Every time I was in class and I didn't want to doze, I just had to find something to chew, either a pen cover, or I would actually even borrow from my neighbor. Tell you, hey, tell me that pen cover, and then I chew it, and then they want that pen cover, I don't have it, and we would actually go into a fight over a pen cover, and it would end up messy. So, and up to date, children still do that. They chew pencils, they chew pens, all that kind of stuff. But I think this might look as something so small, but in the end, it has its own consequences. Because every time I chewed those pen covers, it actually aroused the hunger in my stomach. I would feel so hungry after a short period of time. And whenever I would feel hungry, I was unable to get food because most times I would be in class and then dormitories are closed. And then maybe at dining, there is no food, it's past meal time. So, and I would actually feel, because I had ulcers back then, but I think they escalated at that point. And when you want to eat and then you cannot find the food and then you get the ulcers, I mean, there's the way your brain reacts. There are things that come in hand that you cannot control at that point. So I think eating disorders has been a wonderful topic to discuss, and if many people are watching, I wish they can learn something.
Thank you for that. And let me just put a disclaimer here. I don't want you to go home diagnosing yourself because you really love pen covers that you have an eating disorder. But when we are looking at things that happen in a clinical setting, and for us to say that this is actually an illness, there are a few things that need to be observed. One has to be time. So duration of time is usually very significant in whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's the eating. In fact, people who, because I've come to learn more that people who have pica as an eating disorder, these are people who even end up going for surgeries, and in those surgeries they have like massive bundles of hairs removed from their intestines. So we say that an illness is an illness if it is causing like clinically significant distress, not just in one area. It means it's affecting you socially, it's affecting your work, it's affecting your family, it's affecting you as an individual. So this is not a one-time thing. Of course, with cravings, you'd find that, sometimes you really want to binge on something. So we are not saying that you have an eating disorder or because you skipped a few meals in a day. No, you're not, anorexic, or you're not developing anorexia. So it's a lot more of symptoms than we have mentioned here. We'll put all those links down below this video when we post it. So thank you so much, panelists, for that. And with regards to the theme for this year, for eating disorders, and allow me to just read, because the theme this year is see the change, be the change, by recognizing change within the ever-evolving eating disorders field. In reference to that, what are some of the ways that we can create more awareness on this and mental health in general? How can we create more awareness where this is concerned? Let me start with Zewedi. He's been very quiet.
Yeah. Okay. We have, in developing approach, maybe in creating awareness, to me, I think, or I'm aware that I think grassroots approach makes more sense. Like, let's say upward approach, starting from the grassroots, trying to educate the people from the rural areas, coming up to suburbans, to urban areas. Okay. In urban areas, people might be aware of these issues because they are more educated, they know how to access media, reading articles about food and so on. But in the community, rural setting, people are more of, let's say, ignorant or are more consumed by myths. So like trying to come up with an approach like say the government or policymakers to come and design policies which can cater for these people. So like going to school, educating, hospitals, banners, developing campaigns in the rural areas. My approach will be focusing on rural areas. These people take these things not more seriously than people in urban areas. So I think creating awareness in the rural areas is more effective.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. More community-based approaches. I like the fact that you said, obviously people in the urban area have more access to information in regards to, newspapers are being given for free on the road, like people daily. There is better internet connection. So some of these things are probably easier to access. However, in the grassroots, when you go to the community level, there is no information. So having approaches that are more geared towards engaging people at that level would be really, really helpful. Thank you. Thank you for that as well. Modoni, what are your thoughts in awareness?
Yeah, thank you. As one of the platform, like the digital systems that we have, we can use the digital platforms. Like, for example, this Facebook that we are having right now, which is connected to all other social media. Having these, having more, like in the urban areas, there might be people who are suffering from eating disorders, but they are not aware that on how they can be able to get support. So we can, depending on the setting, if it is urban areas, we can even use the community-based groups to train them, and then they disseminate that information to their communities from in that aspect. If it is rural area, we also have some like maybe the champion, the advocates who are from the rural area who can be able to disseminate that information to the grassroots. And another thing is like creating more, having like this particular period of creating awareness using any platform. I think this is one way we can be able to reach more people to be aware of eating disorder. So I think depending on the settings. If it is
Yes.
rural, rural area, it works best when we have like a dialogue. You just bring them together, and then you just talk about some of these issues, and you demystify the myths that they may be having in relation to eating disorder. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Budoni, for that. Absolutely. The strategies are different and really depends on where. And I like the fact that you brought about dialogue, because that is really what works there, involving community health workers, utilizing the barazas, because when you're really dealing with the grassroots, you don't need somebody to go there with all their English, with all their documentation. That will not work, but really just training, just champions in those areas that speak the local language, that would work really well. And it also brings that ownership, they own the awareness itself. And absolutely, social media is a great, great tool when utilized properly. Tekla, what are your thoughts?
Thank you. I agree with what Modoni and Zawedi have said. Also, when you're talking about taking this to the communities, I feel another area that can be very influential is putting the mental health in the curriculum in schools, from the maybe from the primary schools to high schools all the way to university, whereby when you integrate it to the curriculum, it's easier for the students and even easier for the teachers to be able to see the warning signs in some of the behaviors that the students might be showing, and this will help them get more treatment. Because as we are talking about communities, that some of the communities are so marginalized that maybe they might not get this information firsthand. But when we use the schools in that community, when you use the institutions in that community, then we're able to disseminate the information well. And even as the children are growing, we are going to raise a generation that is more vocal and more aware of issues that are surrounding mental health illness. not only what they have faced themselves, but even what every other person is going through. And I think that is going to raise people as more empathetic and create more policies that are going to be more helpful for everyone in general. Yeah.
Absolutely. I really, really love that. If it's part of the curriculum, then it means from the KIE, people who are making those books, the books that will be donated, I mean, it's part of the curriculum. And then it's also age sensitive. What a standard one you learn is different from a form one. And, that increases self-awareness. And it will help a lot with just the introspection, because one of the things that Tekla brought to our attention was with an eating disorder like binge eating. Sometimes you'll find like somebody is even hiding some of the food either in their room or in their bag. So, in those cases, before somebody realizes there's a problem, usually it's really far gone, but with proper self-awareness, you kind of know, okay, this is going on today, tomorrow, something is not right, because you have information. And one of my best phrases is, once you tell somebody something, they can't unhear it. They might not do it immediately, but you can't unhear. So they'll carry that information with them. Claire has just joined us. Thank you for coming back. Please tell us, so are there treatments? Are there some treatments that you are aware of, or how is it, what goes on in Uganda in regards to treatment for eating disorders?
Thank you so much. When it comes to eating disorders, I haven't seen a specialized treatment for it, probably because so many people do not know about it. And I have been at the National Mental Referral here in Uganda several times before, and I have not, apparently I haven't seen anyone who's admitted because they're having an eating disorder, or probably someone who's receiving treatment because of an eating disorder. I have seen lots of people battling bipolar disorder. I've seen people battling lots of stuff, but eating disorder, it's like a new term to the psychologists and also the patients and also the psychiatrists at the hospitals. Well, it might be there, but because they do not assume it's actually a very big issue to the people. So well, what I can say about treatment, I think this has got to come in handy with maybe advice from friends. Probably if someone is not shy about what they are going through, or actually if they know about it. For some people, 90% of who are actually having eating disorders are not actually aware of the problem. They do not really think it is something normal they are undergoing. So when it comes to treatment, I think someone has got to be talked to.
All right, I think Claire is just frozen, but it's true. There are not as many cases in regards to treatment of eating disorders like she was trying to say, and especially in Uganda. But let me hear from my fellow Kenyans what they have been able to observe. Modoni, have you come across any cases of eating disorders and treatment?
I think the first step where you can be able to get like the support, as Claire has said, there's no like medical proper medical for that, but having a family support and approach that they help you to go through the process. If it is something that you need to consult a nutritionist on maybe how you can portion your food and how you can be able to tackle the disorders that you're going through. So family is a strong support system that you can be able to work through, and if in extreme cases, I think they can be able to get a more of a psychological support, because once you, maybe you are huge, and huge people they always like you'll get a lot of body shaming. You go to kwa matatu and then they tell you sisemi wewe umenona, but you can pay to like for the 2 seats that you have used. So you see that kind of a thing you can get a nutrition to help you through, and maybe a psychological support, so that you can know how do I move from this position, or from this phase I am, maybe to the next phase that I want to achieve as an individual in that process. Because there's a particular day in the matatu, and you see the words that they say to this particular individual, you even feel, and you're not that person, you feel on how they treat this person. So I think more of a psychological support and family, and maybe now having a proper nutritional education will be a step on now to mitigate the eating disorder.
Thank you for that. Yeah, support from family, having proper nutritional guides, and then also the responsibility in regards to change of language. You just reminded me of something. People ideally, anyway, I don't know what they usually think, but the thought is that if you body shame somebody, that you will prompt them to change behavior. But what happens is that that person feels more shame, more guilty, and really even plunge, whether it was like binge eating, they will do it more because of the feelings that they are getting from that body shaming, not less. So I think we need to also be more mindful as a community in regards to how we treat other people, what we say, and also as a challenge is to also take that responsibility, not to be a bystander. So if you feel that any injustice is done around you, just tell that colleague that was not right. That's body shaming, and that I think collectively can help create greater strides in terms to treatment generally, even before we get to the clinical part of it, somebody being admitted to hospital. Tekla, any thoughts on that? Any additional?
I think one of the issues that is facing mental health illnesses is maybe the lack of awareness is what is making us feel like we do not have available treatment options. And mostly because even eating disorders appear as a comorbidity to other illnesses that are being treated. But what I would like to encourage maybe even the viewers or anybody who's listening to us know is that there are treatment options in most, if not all, hospitals around Kenya. Any hospital that you're going to find a psychiatrist or a psychologist, that is the beginning place whereby you can find treatment. A psychiatrist is going to help you with medication if to treat any symptoms that are there, symptoms like maybe a depressive mood, symptoms like anxiety and panic attacks, maybe issues that come off with things like OCD. Any treatment that is that can be done for that will be given by a psychiatrist. Sorry, a psychologist is going to help you through therapy, whereby, like we talk about CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, where mostly we deal with the thoughts or the cognitive thoughts that people are going through, where we challenge the negative thoughts that we've had, or the cognitive distortions and the unhelpful thinking styles, as we help this person to create a positive body image, to help them love themselves, maybe get coping mechanisms even for the stressors that may trigger the eating disorders. Also, another treatment option is group therapy. Once you come together with people who are even facing these challenges, it's much easier, at least knowing that sini peke yangu niko kwa hii shida peke yangu. So having a group or a support system whereby you see, I'm not the only person who's going through this. You can share experiences, you can share views, and maybe what is working for you, you can share it with a friend who's also going through the same thing, and that can be very helpful. And nutrition is also going to help you with a diet plan, even to help you regain now the ideal body weight that is healthy, or the ideal body image that is healthy, through proper eating and proper nutrition. At the same time, we need to also know that they need to see general physicians or medical practitioners. Some issues with some effects of eating disorders will present other issues in our bodies. For instance, things like ulcers, gastritis, Sometimes it might lead to something like diabetes. Other times it's going to even have some effects on our teeth or on our guts because of the maybe purging, vomiting, or inducing vomiting. So they also need to involve a medical practitioner. At the end of the day, I believe all these disciplines work together for the good of every client that comes to them. So it's not necessarily a one-man army, but coming together of these, every person, maybe from the family to the support system on the ground, that is the social support system, and to all other professionals that can help.
Absolutely, very well said, Tekla. Just summarizing both the medical and the non-medical different treatments. And just to reiterate, not everything she said, but emphasizing on there's no health without mental health. So there's no just one clear-cut way. As long as we are talking about an issue that is health-related, it means that a holistic approach is actually more beneficial for patients, right from family to physical part of it and the mental part of it and the support groups that people can be able to attend. So I see that we have run out of time. It's already been 1 hour. I would like us to just finish up this conversation by maybe addressing in regards to how do you know any places with support groups or lines where people can call in case they need help? Where would people go to if somebody is watching this and they've realized, oh my God, I think I could have been mentioned in that? What's the next step? How do they seek for help?
Okay, maybe I can start. I can see my mic is open. Anyway, not last year, I think last year, but one, we saw the government make a move of employing clinical psychologists in almost every other county in the country. So I think one of the places that we can start from is most of the county referral hospitals, rather, they have psychologists. That can be a beginning point. Most of the county referral hospitals also have a bit where is a section that is called the youth friendly or the youth center. That can also you're going to interact with social workers, you're going to interact with psychologists and community health volunteers who can help you find information. And also online, when you check around, when you Google, you can find platforms like what is it called? Befrienders Kenya, whereby you can find the hotline numbers and have someone to talk to. And also, No Chiromole has a toll-free line that you can always reach out to when you feel like you're in distress.
All right. Thank you, Tekla, for that. I see Claire is just joining us back. We're just talking about if somebody is watching, comes across this video and they realize that I have a problem, or one of the things that could have been mentioned today, they can relate to it. How can they find help, especially from the area that you come from? What would be the next steps?
Thank you so much. I think when it comes to finding help, for starters, the people around us are always the help that we need all the time. So if you talk to the people around us about the problems that we are facing, they will be the first ones to give us the help. Those ones will be our first point of contact. Then after getting help from the people around us, probably we can also check into hospitals. We have to talk to psychologists, to people who can actually tell us the clinical part of whatever we are suffering from, so we can get to understand it better, and then we can be told what to do. Maybe if there is some kind of treatment, let me say maybe tablets, or maybe some kind of counseling, or some kind of anything that can help us. So I think we first have to talk to people around us, and after that we approach the hospitals, and then yeah, that's what we have to do.
Absolutely. Just in line with our initiative to Funguke, let's speak up to the people around us. And this is two-way. Usually, the people also around us, they usually throw hints here and there of distress. And if we are actually open enough, then we can be able to take some of these cues and realize, this person have actually been saying they've not slept, for the past 2 days. They say this today, that they said that yesterday, or they have been, eating in the middle of the night, or even purging. So if we really are more intentional, you can hear some of these cues, even if said in a subtle way. So tufunguke, let's open up. Claire, what is opening up in Uganda? How do you say that in Ugandan? Please unmute.
In Uganda, we have thousands and thousands of languages. So it just depends, because right now I'm in the central part of Uganda, and the capital city right here in Kampala. Opening up is anything, because this is a foreign language, it's not my language.
Use your language.
Opening up I use my language.
Yes.
Opening up in my language, it would be I've forgotten. I take long to speak my language, so you forgive me.
I'll give you a moment.
Yeah, when I remember, I'll let you know.
All right.
Yeah,
Zawedi, how can people find help? Is there something you can add to what Claire and Tekla said?
Okay, most people fear expressing their self. I think the best approach, visiting a hospital, a referral hospital, a community-based hospital, and then speak to a medical practitioner, explaining a problem. So the medical practitioner will be able to diagnose you the kind of the problem you're experiencing and refer you to a better facility for treatment. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Referral hospitals, and the government has continued to actually do so and absorb. I know there's a lot that has just been recently absorbed again. So we are really living in a different time where mental health is concerned, and I'm so proud to be alive to witness some of these changes. So just walk into any county referrals. I'm sure a card is like 50 shillings. The youth center at KNH, and even because I'm from Kiambu, they are free. Go and talk to somebody. You'll find at least information that they are willing to do, and even if they cannot be able to do it, proper channels of referrals, you will find them there. Mudhoni, I see you smiling very hard. Yes.
Thank you so much, Gazoni. I think my other panelists have already exhausted all the points. And sometimes there are some people who they have difficulties maybe going to the hospital and explaining about the issues. They can use their community champions, and through that they can support you. They can support them when they go to health facilities, and maybe like Mercy has said, like in my locality, every Thursday there's a psychologist who come to the health facility near my locality, and they can be able to get support. So they can use.
Where is the locality?
I mean, Viwandani Lungalunga Health Center. Viwandani, yes. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Mudhoni, for that. I really hope I did cut you short. Please just allow me to give you 20 seconds each and to tell us just a call to action that you would like as we close this conversation today. What would you like to see, or what would you like to challenge people out there to do? I don't know where to start. We can start with one of you, and then we'll go left from there.
Let me start. Being what do you call it? Eating Disorder Awareness Week. As the champions, as the advocate, let us stand up for the people in our community who are struggling with eating disorders, and let us be the support system that they need to overcome this challenge. And through that, we can be able to eradicate the eating disorders we have as a country and as a continent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mudhoni, and for taking the challenge to open up this last part of the conversation. Claire, call to action.
Thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me to be part of this great conversation and for representing East Africa as a whole. Of course, minus Kenya, the rest are represented. I represent Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, DRC, South Sudan, and I think others that I do not know. Thank you so much. By the before I go to my call of action, I've remembered
Sorry, sorry. And as we wait for Claire to come back, we have some comments from our social media platforms. And I would just like to read some of them before we go to Mercy Tekla and Zewedi Samson. They are going to be displayed. We have a comment from Benjamin Mutuku who says, quite an important discussion. Let's also share as much digital information as possible. Thanks, Chiromo Mental Health Hospital, for leading the way. Thank you so much, Benjamin Mutuku, for joining this conversation. We also have another comment from our YouTube page, Eating Disorder. Wow, a great topic of public health importance. More so now in these changing times, absolutely. Thank you so much for your comment and for joining us. Claire, sorry, we had lost you a little bit.
So sorry about that. Like you had asked me what opening up is in one of the languages right here. So yes. I remember just in one language, it means you can say Yogera, like speak up, open up, so that people can understand Yogera. It's Yogera. So you can speak up and then people can hear you about that. Then when I go to your question about call of action, I think first of all, we as the public should stop being judgmental to people who have these eating disorder issues. For example, when you see like someone who's oversized, do not point fingers, do not say that this person eats a lot. Probably it's genetic because they do not even eat as much as you eat, though you're slim and they have this kind of maybe excess fat. So sometimes we just need to be non-judgmental, and that is the only way how they will be able to open up, and then they can receive the help that they deserve after they have opened up. But if they know you're going to judge them, then they will not open up, and if they don't open up, it means the problem is going to escalate and maybe spread. Some other people, they will think this what they are doing is right, so they will also do the same thing. So just stop being judgmental, and then we can be able to help each one of us to ensure that we move forward. Thank you so much.
Yeah, kindness, guys. Let's not be judgmental. I like to say, be better, do better, or do better, be better, at all times. I would like to welcome Zewedi Samson. Any call to action?
Okay, thank you so much, Chiromo, for the initiative. And then my call of action is that all stakeholders to join hands and support the initiative. Both NGOs, governments, schools, the people at the community, the grassroots, general public, to stop being too judgmental, the health eating disorder. Not everyone who is fat or thin are experiencing the condition. So we have to be so focused and treat people in a good manner. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Zewedi, for that calling for a multi-sectorial approach to all matters mental health, and more specifically eating disorders in this case. I really appreciate that. And last but not least on this panel, we have Mercy Tekla. Call to action.
Okay. Thank you, Gadoni. I think my call to action is for us to continue having these candid and very uncomfortable conversations, whereby we even talk about lived experiences of people who have gone through some of these mental health issues. This is going to encourage everyone else that we are calling out to reach out to speak about it. Also, as much as we emphasize on reaching out, we can also try reaching in. Be the person that is checking on your neighbor, be the person that is calling maybe your friends and like just checking on them and knowing how they're doing. Most of the time it's hard for someone to reach out to you, and it's easier for us to go and take the initiative of reaching out to them and see what is it that is going on in their lives. Also, we have the responsibility to educate ourselves, and when you're educated and when you know what these things entail, it's going to eradicate most of the stigma and the discrimination that is surrounding mental health. When you know what it is, it's going to be easier for you not to body shame or fat shame or cyberbully anybody else because you know the information. You know how it's affecting the other person, you know the nitty-gritties of how the illness appears, and so you're going to be more kind and more empathetic to the people around you. So I think my call to action mainly today is let's get educated, let's look for this information so that it helps us relate with everybody else who's facing every other mental condition, not necessarily eating disorders alone.
Thank you so much, Marcy Tekla, for that. And thank you so much, panelists, for honoring our invitation to have this conversation. And I really, really appreciate you, and to everybody who joined this conversation via any of the social media platforms. Asanteni, please share this information with your significant others. Put our WhatsApp status, as we observe this National Eating Disorders Week. And last but not least, I would like to remind all of you that we have a toll-free line, 0800 220 000, that operates 24/7. So kindly feel free to reach out via our call center. And just a reminder that you can reach us, you can reach out to us as well via any of our DMs at Chiromo Hospital Group. We are always ready to provide quality, dignified mental health services. And as I close this, please allow me to read you a quote, an anonymous quote that says, "I intend to accept my body today, love my body tomorrow, and appreciate my body always." And I would like to leave you with that quote. Asanteni sana. See you next week, same time, same place. Tufunguke.